If you aren't watching Trigun Stampede, especially after episode 6, you are missing out. Studio Orange continuing to flex what they're capable of, and the interesting style that they went with in terms of this almost silent movie backstory, with the brutality, the amazing action sequences, and the shocking reveals of Livio, and the fact that our boy Nicholas Wolfwood, he has a much more tragic past than I was initially expecting. As we rewind a couple episodes back, it looked like he was just on the verge of betraying our boy Vosh, and it kind of looked like he wasn't really interested in doing it, but apparently he's been doing that long term, so I was like, oh man, he's gonna be a backstabbing brat. And no, there's a lot more to it, and the fact that they literally end this episode with the cargo ship slash passengers train now directed towards the orphanage, he has a dilemma to make. Does he kill his brother, his person he's been with for so long, as at that point they wouldn't let it crash in the orphanage, I imagine, because they need someone with compatibility for their experiments. But if you keep him alive, most likely they would let the orphanage crash and burn because they have someone that they're currently fine with. Either way, it's an absolutely twisted fate right now, and I do not envy the characters that they have to deal with this whole, like, you have the sand people coming up trying to rob you and beat you up. You have to deal with a crazy lunatic family, which honestly Vosh has his own experience with. Trigun Stampede has been an absolute blessing so far for 6 weeks now. Now, before we jump any further, I have to mention we got that full uncut live reaction available on my Patreon. So if you want to see my full thoughts to today's episode, head on over there and consider supporting. Because yeah, this show, the more I watch, the more I enjoy. And I almost feel like this new Trigun project is probably going to suffer / succeed in the same way that the original did. I mean, Trigun kind of became a cult classic, right? It doesn't just happen overnight. Over time, people kept talking about it, and eventually everyone who's watched anime most likely has eventually watched the original Trigun, or at the very least they know of it and they plan to get around to it. It's just, there's so many big names both in the past and are currently releasing on a day-to-day basis, it's hard to get caught up to everything. And I kind of feel like Trigun Stampede is about to have the same thing where, as it's airing, not as many people are talking about it, whether it's a mixture of everything airing on Saturday, or maybe just people are waiting for the dub, or there could be a lot of things happening. But ultimately, I think over the years, this one's going to get that same type of buzz and hype because it is such a good production. And seriously, the more I watch of it, the more I'm fascinated by its characters. I mean, you literally have a boy who looks identical to 20 years back. Why that's a thing, I don't know. I mean, they did kick off the episode with Wolfwood getting blasted by a machine gun, popping back a little brewski and being A-okay. So someone being able to be 20 years back, he looks like he's still the same babyface boy we know and love here, but at the same time, was he experimented on? Is that the direction they're going? I don't know. It's an interesting conundrum for sure, but I'm interested to see what they're going to do. But hands down, this was all about watching Nicholas and his backstory, and to see just the orphanage plotline. I can't be the only one who got Promised Neverland vibes. Initially, when those like gas mask people come in and they're holding up like they got a certificate, like, hey, you've been selected. Like, yay, it's a celebration. The soup lady, the mother of the orphanage, I'm not sure what to call her, she looked rather worried. The children were a little mixture of happy, sad, conflicted. But to just see him being taken away, even before the experimentation, you just knew this was a Promised Neverland situation where even if he's not getting ate by these people, he's gonna suffer a fate worse than death, and he absolutely did. To see him just strapped down on that table like he was Jesus Christ on the cross, and then to see the experimentation to such length. We didn't even see exactly what happened outside of this kind of like colorful acid trip, but we saw the blood afterwards. And the fact that when he initially tried to escape, he jumped over and he was about to go through that window. This was one of the most disturbing scenes I've seen this season, because rather than it being like this bloody, grotesque mess, instead, we hear and we see his bones snap in such a way that he becomes a ball. The human spine is not supposed to move like that, and the fact that they did that to him because he can repair himself, I mean, the fact that they went to such lengths to stop someone from escaping, it's absolutely carnage. I've been very interested to see what they're going to do with Wolfwood, because seriously, I mean, 2 episodes back, it looked like he was on the verge of betraying our boy, but like I said, it felt like there was more to it than that. I just wasn't expecting the reason being that unfortunately he can't kill his brother even if he wants to save him because he thinks he's too far gone. We rewind from last week, he literally said, and he pulled the trigger because he said some people can't be saved. Almost seems like he's being a hypocrite when it comes to his brother in a similar situation who's probably beyond brainwash, but the reason he can't is because if he does that, then other kids from the orphanage will then be experimented upon and killed and tortured until ultimately someone's found that can be what they're looking for. So it's a pretty heavy conundrum, and I'm interested to see what Vaush's opinion of the whole matter will be. Is he going to be one of those situations where he'll pull the trigger for him? I doubt it, but you never know with a show like this, especially with the type of subject matter that they're exploring. But to have the end of the episode where we have Bug Boy and the person responsible with that telekinetic grab of death destroy the engines, change the course and trajectory, and now basically it's just a walking disaster. How is he going to respond? I have no idea. But seriously, the art style that they decided to go with the almost silent movie direction, not only do I want to see Studio Orange make an entire anime, whether that's a short 8-minute anime clip, whether that's a movie, whether that's a TV series, this style that they use for that flashback is so good, not only because they didn't use voice acting, they allowed it to be that typically, like before movies had sound, right? They would just show the words on screen to show you what the characters were saying. The fact that they did exactly that it just added that extra layer of atmosphere as you had this very gorgeous presentation that's so different, so distinct from what we're expecting from this show. And they even played into some Beastars animation techniques. So if anyone's seen Beastars, which is also from Studio Orange, there's been moments where characters almost go a little crazy in the way they played with colors. That's very similar to what was happening to Wolfwood when he was basically being injected, electrocuted, whatever they were doing to his body to make him nearly indestructible. It reminded me of that technique that they would use in Beastars sometimes, and I really like seeing that, how they're playing off of techniques they've used before, but also going in completely uncharted territory. Where do we go from here, other than probably a lot of death and bloodshed? Probably some heavy plot twists for sure, but I find it interesting to see how both Vaush as well as Nicholas, they both have very bad brother situations, and it's all connected to the same murderous bastard, as Knives seemingly is responsible for all this. But it's going to be interesting to see what type of bond they can have, because up until this point I've been thinking that eventually Wolfwood would pull a gun on him and try to kill him, and then maybe something would happen that they could get over it. Now it almost feels like they're going to be working together to maybe stop him for more mutual reasons than anything. And I think the only way you could truly free him is if his brother probably does die or is freed mentally from that lock that they currently have on him. Is that possible? Probably not. But I mean, I'm open to any possibility at the end of the day. But we're now 6 episodes into this one. Am I liking it more than when I first started? Yes. Did I think it started out strong? Yes. And does it just keep getting me more and more excited for the future? Absolutely. Studio Orange is flexing what they can do both with their 3D production, with that amazing hand-to-hand combat animation. It feels frantic, it feels realistic, as if, honestly, we're just watching actors in live-action movies who train for months on end for an action scene. That's how these fight scenes come across, and the way they can play with perspective and ultimately the art styles to get across flashbacks and other emotional moments is absolutely 10 out of 10 if you ask me, and I'm loving it. Can't wait to see where they're going to take it next week, especially given the cliffhanger. But thoughts, feelings yourself down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here. Be sure to ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload on the channel, and as I mentioned, we got that full live reaction available on my Patreon, so consider supporting if you so wish. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.